Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Good for the Soul. This is episode number 22. In this episode, I sat down with the Adamson brothers in Seaside, Oregon. So Nate and Zach Adamson. This to me was one of those first experiences of getting out of the state of Washington and going and training and having that vibe that I thought I had been searching for from the time I wanted to start this journey. They're super welcoming people. Beautiful area. So if you ever actually want to go on vacation, go check out Seaside, Oregon, and it's high level jiu-jitsu. So if I'm not mistaken, they got their black belt from Sanji and Rafael Lovato. So again, high level jiu-jitsu. They smashed me. They're about half my size, but they crushed me. And both of them have, I would say, different styles, which is really cool to feel it out. Super welcoming environment. Everyone in the gym was rad, and funny story that I want to share with you guys, and maybe Nate will pull up the voicemail. So before leaving Seattle, I was trying to say, okay, how am I going to plan my route? What gyms am I going to go to first? So I had gotten a recommendation to go there from my friend Greg, and I called, and I've been running a construction company for a long time, so I'd consider myself a voicemail expert, a voicemail leaving expert. Hey, this is so-and-so from DMC. I'm calling about this item. We want to do this repair. Give me a call when you get a chance. Let's schedule and coordinate. Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon. Well, I hadn't had my spiel down yet for the Good for the Soul content. So one day I called, and it went to voicemail, and I must have sounded like an idiot, right? Where I was like, hey, so my name's Victor, and I'm traveling and training, and can I come? And then I'm doing this interview thing. Can I stay with you guys and train jiu-jitsu? And it was just like super awkward, and I hung up the phone, and I was like, man, I don't know if he's ever gonna call me back. So about a week later, he ended up calling me back. We got on the phone, and he was like, yeah, man, tell me what you're doing. And it was all good. Let him know once I got down the area, and I actually I spent some of the most extensive time at their academy. I think I spent a full week there, maybe 5 or 6 days, trained and hung out with them. Again, super cool people. I call them friends for life now. Very welcoming. So if you guys ever get a chance to go to Seaside, Oregon, if anything, just to go there and train, that's worth a trip in and of itself. So Nate and Zach, you guys are awesome. Thank you for having me at your gym again. I felt like it was a home away from home while I've been, starting my journey at that time. So I super appreciate you guys. And to those listening, their philosophy on jiu-jitsu is incredible. Their humility behind everything they do, how they run their academy, everything's thought through. It's detail oriented, and again, high level jiu-jitsu. So that was super exciting. And again, I vibe with those guys very much so. So hopefully you get something out of it. Before we jump into the episode, I want to remind you guys to go to jockofuel.com, type in Good for the Soul at checkout, get yourself 10% off. That's for the protein shakes, the supplements, the Discipline Go drinks, all the good stuff, anything to take care of your body while you're on the master training or any form of fitness, for longevity of the sport, for life, wanting to stay healthy and in shape, right? The joint warfare is one of my favorites. You guys know from gripping gis and joint locks, you kind of get that creaking in jiu-jitsu, or my friends who are runners, it's kind of hard on the knees. So get that Jocko joint warfare, give it a shot. I love that stuff. Been using it for 5 or 6 years before even being able to partner with them at this time. And then on the gear side of things, originusa.com, from dirt to shirt, right? So they got the gis, the rash guards, jeans, shirts, all the cool stuff in apparel, dirt to shirt. The cotton is grown here in America. It's shipped up to, now they have another factory, I believe in North Carolina, and so it's woven there, and they have the headquarters up in Maine, up in Farmington, Maine, and it's all put together and shipped out from there. So again, bringing manufacturing back to America. I love this company. So originusa.com, type in Good for the Soul at checkout, and then again, on the supplement side of things, the superfood greens, all the good stuff, jockofuel.com, 10% off, type in Good for the Soul at checkout. And without further ado, here we go, episode number 22 of Good for the Soul with the Adamson brothers, Nate and Zach. Yeah, we're just talking jiu-jitsu. So, let's go to the beginning. Like, where does your guys' love for jiu-jitsu come from?
You want to go first, bro? Sure. Yeah. My love of jiu-jitsu comes from the desire to create happiness, find something of meaning, try and create a path of who I'm going to become later on in life. Mm-hmm. My path wasn't traditional. or it could be said it was traditional for some people. Like I didn't go to college. I instead went to work after high school, and not having the structure of schooling and being misplaced from some of my friends as they went off to college or did other things. I was searching for where I was going to land in my social settings, who I would find as friends next, things like that. So I think, you know, I was working construction with my father at the time, and I had a very small group of friends, and I was searching for something larger than that. And when I found jiu-jitsu, it challenged me the way that I enjoyed being challenged in life. It was very competitive, and back then, that's what jiu-jitsu was all about, was competition. The strongest survived, kind of like a mentality that I enjoyed being a part of, that I already had it in me a bit. And yeah, I think that I fell in love with it fairly quickly because it was offering a lot of the things that I was searching for at that time. I was still really young, and I was able to grasp onto a lot of that, being physical and having a group of people around me that were supportive, kind of like, and they were people of all different age groups, so that was unique to me as well. Like in school, you're usually connected with like your friends, or my brother's 18 months younger than me, so we were always hanging out with like the same group of people, you know. But now I'm meeting adults that will help mentor me and give me things of value. So that was also very attractive to being in that environment at that time. It's like, yeah, all these guys are trying to be savages, but they're also very willing to help and create that sense of like tribal community,
right?
You know, and so I really took to that.
Let's jump back even further, because I think, one, did you guys as brothers roughhouse when you were younger? Was that the norm?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Now, all of our friends, we were always wrestling around and stuff. We never did wrestling, but we always, just scrapped around. And stuff.
So that feeling, maybe walking through the door for the first time on the mats, wasn't as uncomfortable as maybe some people described to you? Or what was, day one on the mats, walking through that door like for you guys?
Yeah, I was searching for that.
Okay.
You know? So I can certainly say the environment that we provide for people today is more welcoming to the idea that jiu-jitsu is for everyone.
Okay.
Whereas back when we started, jiu-jitsu was for the few and the savage and the ones that survived. That's really what it was about. Because
there's a whole lot of retention going on.
Right.
They didn't care. They actually wanted to use you as a beating post and see if you could survive, because then you were a part of the team and you had some value to offer if you became tough enough.
Yep.
So that was certainly a different exposure to the martial arts than a lot of people get nowadays.
Yeah. So did you guys find jiu-jitsu at the same time, or when did you come across jiu-jitsu?
My brother went first with one of our best friends growing up, our buddy Nick. He's actually one of our black belts still today, or still trains with us. And my mom got a 2-week free pass out of it's like a booklet that goes around the community, get some coupons and stuff. And Astoria is 20 minutes north. You probably drove through when you came down here. So my bro and his buddy started first, and they loved it, and they encouraged me to do it when I came back. I was on a Christmas break, came back, loved it. The guy, it was actually Carlson Gracie. He was a brown belt at the time, and so his style was like long, intense warm up, very like building your cardiovascular endurance, and he loved having some young guys in there, So it was good. He was very positive.
Do you remember your first day on the mats? What that experience was like for you?
Yeah, I do. I thought the guy was. I almost remember like he would do like the warm ups in like these tiny little fucking.
The Valley Tudos?
Yeah. It was like a big guy.
Ivan still walks around in those in the gym.
And I remember he was like, he'd take his glasses off, and so he couldn't see shit. So he'd be like up there leading the warm up with like the squinted eyes, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But the first day I learned some chokes, and got to, I think I might have even rolled like a little bit the first day, and it was challenging. And I really felt like when I learned this stuff, I was like, okay, I could use this. We'd done Taekwondo and practiced some other martial arts, and I felt like there was a pretty big learning gap you had to overcome before you were very effective, where I was like, shit, I could learn this choke the first night, I could go choke somebody with this right away. So I felt like it was very like straight to the point, you know.
Yep.
And as a little smaller guy, it was very intriguing because of that.
That's awesome. And I was telling Nate last night, I have a younger brother who's the exact same spread in age as you guys are. And I tried to pull him into jiu-jitsu for a long time. Like, hey man, it's so fun. Like, he was in college and then the Air Force, and he would dabble a little bit here and there. And then I think when he finally had come back to Seattle, he had gotten the, oh, I should learn this because, yeah, it's fun, but also my brother can't get too far ahead of me, you know? So did you have a little bit of that? Like,
yeah, I mean, we were training, when I was going to school, I was training at school in Eugene, and my brother was training up here in Astoria. So yeah, we would come back, but my bro was competing, and I think we were just really trying to exchange techniques. And we had other students in the class that were our good friends growing up, and they really pushed us hard, you know, so from the beginning when we started. Some really just physical specimens that also were doing it with us, and so we had a lot of guys around us that were really pushing us to get better from like early time on. And we didn't have like the most technical team, but we were like in shape and we liked to scrap hard.
Cool. I think that's the thing is like my brother and I, we were always super close growing up, and the way that we developed friendships was very similar to the way that we treated ourselves. Like, we didn't want friends around. Like, I've never had little spats with my guy friends where I'm like, oh, I'm not friends with him for a certain like weeks or months, or like that doesn't happen with me. I know I'm solid with people when I'm solid with them.
Cool.
And that's when I invite them into my life, because I, you know, believe in their character. And so we had that group of people that was very close. So we were able to scrap really, really hard together because we loved each other, like trying to kill each other out of kindness, even though, like, to build each other up, you know. So we had that mentality the whole time, and it was just like a bunch of savage young guys that were like just trying to peak out at their physical and just go as far as they could and be competitors and world champions. And like, it was a really healthy environment to be challenged at the highest level. Cool. You know, that's really what it came down to.
Absolutely. So what was that, again, early days jiu-jitsu, this is still pre-social media, pre-big internet, you know, what was that white belt phase like for each of you?
Well, a lot of slow wins, you know, like getting your first submission is a big deal. Your first, like, you know, people you started with are not training as consistent as I am, and I can tell I'm making progress, and the tides are shifting, and I can start to give blue belts a harder time, and I'm finding small victories. I'm learning the positions. You know, there's so much excitement in that early stage because you're learning so much magic, and you're like, how did anyone ever figure this out? There's so much new stuff. It's overwhelming even a little sometimes, but you're just stacking. And I think from an early time on, you know, I was like, okay, this is like a thinking game mixed with whatever physical attributes you have as well too. You know? So a lot of fun, just like I said, getting those small wins early on and trying to add techniques and exploring positions. And
yeah, absolutely. Well, I know the times were different at, you know, back then, as, hey, trial by fire essentially. Now we'll jump timeline a little bit to where you guys are now. How do you, as we're trying to make jiu-jitsu more for everyone, how do you best describe to people who maybe aren't as athletic, or people walking through that door for the first time, some advice to get them through that initial 3 to 6 month phase of white belt where jiu-jitsu may seem so daunting until they get over that hump?
Yeah, I mean, we've over 20 years of training. We've been exposed to every style of training, every atmosphere that's that was and has been up until now. And, you know, we like to take note of the things that will improve the experience to the students and ourselves through being martial artists. And so it's important to recognize what will create a culture that suits everyone's needs eventually. And it's impossible to do that. We see that in humanity, politics, any facet of important conversations where people can become emotional. There's inevitably a separation.
Yeah.
But you can only do your best to say, look, here's a standard that creates a great human being and separates the frivolous conversations that go deep enough to make you emotionally separate from one another, because at that point it doesn't actually matter anymore. You're going so deep in it, like you're losing yourself, you're losing the conversation. Like, this is real.
Yeah.
When we all just put in the work together and know that when we're putting the work in together that we get better. Like, it's very simple.
Yeah. No, that
you
totally
show up, you do the work, and you get everything in return. Not only do you learn a martial art, but you get the community, you get your confidence, all of the things that martial arts and the environment bring. When you just have that positive aspect to, look, when you create this space and we have this goal, everything outside of here disappears.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to bring those distractions in here. So.
And that's a great point. I mean, Zach, as a coach, when new people are walking into the gym, what are some of those distractions, or maybe reasons that they finally make that jump to walk through that door, you know?
Man, the thing I notice is people most often come in because there's something in their life that they're not getting, you know, whether it be, a lot of times it's a transition in their life. They broke up with their girlfriend, they moved to a new area, they're trying to reestablish healthy routines again, they're going through a breakup, you know, they're out of high school and they're looking for something to stay active, they're thinking about going into Coast Guard. You see how all these reasons that kind of can be the catalyst. They listen to Joe Rogan, they're inspired by him, they're missing something, or it could be they just love watching UFC and they're intrigued by the whole techniques and stuff. But,
cool.
I think there's a whole range of people that come in, and I'm big on first impressions. You know? I think if you don't have a game plan for when somebody walks in the door, they could lose interest pretty quickly or feel like they're not going to get taken care of. We also know a lot of reasons over the years why people quit or more inclined to quit. So we try and avoid a lot of those roadblocks. I don't actually think jiu-jitsu is for everyone, to be honest. I think it can be for any body type, you know, obviously ethnicity, but really the thing that separates the thing that's going to be jiu-jitsu for you or not is your mentality, and whether you are okay with a certain amount of adversity in life. You know, so really the character doesn't have anything to do with the physical or any of that other stuff. It's just, are you programmed in a way that you're okay with a certain amount of prolonged adversity? It will never be easy. Easier days come and go, but you really get out what you put in. And you know, some people like that challenge. Some people like that challenge for 5 years, 10 years, transition on, and some people are the rare breed that like to do something for, you know, they're just made the decision it's going to be what they do forever, you know, where they still find a lot of joy and passion the same way they did or it's fulfilling. You know, I don't think you're going to do anything for the long run, no matter how stubborn you are. If you're not getting something good out of it, you know, you'll find a reason to quit.
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, some of those early days, do you guys remember what it felt like to get your blue belt? Or was that a big step for you at the time?
Yeah, it was, but I do talk about this with my students. I try and create a space where they can actually enjoy the journey in between each level, whereas I was so persistent on wanting to be a world champion at the black belt that sometimes I lost myself in the experience, and I wish I would have been able to be a little more present in some of those spaces, going through those things. I was just so hungry. I was just pushing, trying to just clear stuff out of the way to get to the next goal. And it does take that tenacity and persistence to get to some of those goals. But I think now, in hindsight, looking back, I feel that there's even more value in being able to be 100% present and know who you want to be, rather than a goal that doesn't identify or separate you from your identity from that only goal. And I think that that's something that the jiu-jitsu community is not doing a good enough job of. When you're promising these young children that they're going to be world champions, and like they give up their ability to be social and dive into these things 100%, there's going to be an identity crisis later on, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and we see that in youth all over the place now because of how social media is used and things like that. And I certainly see that reflection. You know, it's like, how many champions or these people that are winning these titles would do what they're doing with no recognition, with no social media, with no money behind it?
Right.
Because that's what I was doing when I started. You know,
it's totally fair.
There was no interest in needing that to pursue our goals. And to be honest, there was no distraction of that while we were pursuing our goals, you know. So I think that that's probably more dependent on the individual and how they perceive and work in the world around them. Some people are very inclined to deal with technology. I don't really care about social media. I don't really care too much about, I don't feel like we're at a space where technology is going to be able to offer us any more value than nature has at this point. So I personally enjoy nature over technology.
Right.
You know, some people are certainly inclined to enjoy technology over nature. And that's fine. Right. I think that it takes all types to make the world go around.
Absolutely.
So,
no, for sure.
yeah.
And the reason I asked about that blue belt stage is because we've all heard it, hey, the blue belt blues, and that tends to be when people realize, like, oh damn, this is way longer than I thought. I just got this after 2 or 3 years. And you had mentioned, hey, you've heard many reasons, right, over the years why people are quitting jiu-jitsu. And yesterday we were actually talking that, hey, here at your gym, you have a purpose for everything. And I really loved your philosophy behind how you run the gym. But maybe what are some of those reasons that people quit jiu-jitsu, so that if they're hearing this, they can say, oh, that's something that I heard, and maybe I'll try to avoid and work through, and or what are some of the techniques you guys use here at your gym for, you know, keeping people on the mats for longer?
Yeah, for sure. I got a few. The big one is fear of injury. Okay, a lot of working professionals come in, they don't want to get injured, they work with their hands, they need to go to work the next day. Misinterpreted comment, so the staff needs to be very aware of what they're saying and the way they're saying it. Do you know what I mean by
No,
that?
I totally do, but this is actually the first time a coach has said that, so maybe can you elaborate a little more on that, because that's a great
If you got a student in class that doesn't smell good, you need to, you know, public praise, private correction is one thing we like to teach in our coaching course, which is, you know, give them praise in front of everyone and make sure we're not publicly humiliating them either, you know. But it could be anything like, I've got stuff in my head that I've had coaches tell me all this stupid shit over the years, like, oh, I thought you were in good shape, or just, you know, little jabs that they find instead of building you up. You know, there's still, unfortunately, plenty of egos out there, and people can get defensive when they're challenged, or they're trying to correct, you know, one behavior in front of the whole class. You know, so I think just being very conscious of the students, you know, their needs, and being careful in the way we say things and when we do it. We teach a lot of that in the coach's course. It's important. Do it in private, off the mat. Try and do things through questions, you know, instead of being like, you keep hurting people, you know, have you noticed there's been some injuries when you're training people? You see, like, you can set them up to answer, you know, get them answering finding the answer to the problem themselves, you know, is really what we want.
Yeah, I think on a deeper level, when people go to a place to solve pain or issues that they're really desiring to work through, the last thing they want is to receive more negativity in their life. You know, they're expecting or hoping that that place is going to be a sanctuary where they can grow into the person that they want to become eventually. You know, and there's a lot of different people coming from a lot of different spaces in life. So I think if you're, like my brother said, conscious of the individuals and what they desire, it doesn't take a bunch of different stuff to create that atmosphere. It's very simple. People want public praise. They want recognition for what they're doing in life. They're looking for guidance to solve the issues or pain points that they're dealing with. We all still have those things that we're trying to work through, or mentors that have helped us through that, and we have a desire to offer that to other people. And so it's the things that you get outside of jiu-jitsu by just being present and doing the practice. That's really the magic. My brother mentioned earlier, the magic is everything that jiu-jitsu gives you over a long period of time through continuing a practice that forces you to perform under pressure, critically think under stress, these things that offer you so much when you go outside of these walls and start to deal with other little issues, and you're like, oh, actually that's not as much of a problem now. When I have people that care for me, that I know aren't trying to hurt me, that challenge me on a certain level, that make me really struggle in life, all of a sudden I'm not afraid of these little things that come along.
Right.
These interactions that could be conflict, that if you don't know how to deal with them become an issue. But all of a sudden it's just like, none of this is really that big of a problem.
Absolutely.
I learn how to work through these issues because I'm struggling to figure out in real time these puzzles on a regular basis. So all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, what is actually happening here? And your mind goes into a process of like, this person's doing this, or this situation is doing this, and your brain is actually functioning on a level that solves problems versus wanting to remove yourself from any conflict or any issue and hoping that life becomes a sweet little pie that never has anything of conflict or issue with it.
Right.
That's not reality.
Of course.
You have to get better at life rather than wishing that life gets easier.
Yeah.
That is not going to happen for us.
No, that's such a great point, and I think you're touching on how the key benefits of jiu-jitsu, how it can affect your life outside of the gym, which for most people they're only here a couple hours a day throughout the week, if lucky, 2 to 3 times a week. But now on almost the inverse of that, how do you see people who do it successfully balance running a business, their jobs, sticking with jiu-jitsu long term? What are some of the key things that you guys are seeing?
Man, build a team, get some mentors that are better at you than have experience doing what you want to do, so you can learn how their systems work, and then take that system and modify it for yourself or find a better one. If the goal is to make it profitable, you got to run it like a business does, so you need somebody that knows about marketing, how to do sales, and how to student retention is a big one. All of that will never make up if you don't have a quality product. That's a big one. You're not going to last the test of time if you don't have a good quality product. So reinvesting in yourself, which is the product, that can never, as soon as you stop working on your own jiu-jitsu, you're going to plateau. You can only get your students so good.
Yeah.
So a lot of reinvesting in the business, but that's a good start.
Cool.
Get around some mentors and start asking a lot of questions, and don't be too attached to any idea, whether it be technique or systems are great, but we don't want to be married to stuff. We need to be flexible and not get fixed on something that might not be a great fit. We could trade it out for something better later.
Absolutely. Have you had students come to you guys with that struggle of figuring out how to balance training and their job and family life? And how have you guys coached them through that?
Yeah, one of the things that we do, the first step, if someone wanted to become more a part of jiu-jitsu in their life, usually they sign up and they start attending the academy, they start training, right? So that will be the first step. Then maybe they're around a lot and there's some different paths you can take while being a martial artist. You can be the hobbyist, you can be a heavy competitor, you can be somebody that isn't super physical, a super athlete, but actually enjoys guiding and helping people, And so throughout all of those different roles you can play as being a martial artist in the academy, you have to create some sort of standard that allows people to move into those spaces. So what does being a competitor mean? What's the standard of a competitor? Well, obviously we expect certain things from people that want to acquire certain titles, right? And so we have a standard that is required to become an instructor. We have an instructor training course, and that allows us to identify the strengths or undeveloped strengths in those individuals and start guiding them towards deeper goals that they might be having later on in the academy. Likewise, if you're a competitor, there's going to be a certain set of standards that we look for and a environment that we create specifically for that person, so that they can thrive and learn what it takes to become that individual, right? Where the just general practitioner that walks in the room or in the academy, all we have to do is look at them, see who they are, create that environment for them. Everybody's happy and healthy here, you know, becoming better, helping one another. So that's a really welcoming environment for people that are non-athletes, coming back from trauma, injury, super athletes, people looking for community, any of those reasons. This is usually a great spot for people to come.
Cool.
So I think that we've done a good job of creating a space where every single type of martial artist can thrive.
I love that. Yeah, and you can feel it right when you walk through the doors, right? All levels, sizes, ages. I mean, just in the community feel that you guys bring to this gym, it radiates from you guys. So which was really cool for me to feel walking through those doors for the first time. I think I was mentioning to you yesterday that, you know, I had watched the welcome video that you had on the website, and it's done really well. So, you know, kudos to you guys for that video. But you mentioned something in there that was, hey, on Seaside, the population is only about 6,000. In the county around here is about 33,000 you mentioned. And you have a school of 200 plus students here, right? And I thought that was like, wow, maybe that's the best percentage of jiu-jitsu practitioners in a city in the United States. You know, I haven't looked into this
yet. That's what we say sometimes. Biggest per capita in the world.
Yeah, which is awesome.
You know, we've looked around at we haven't been exposed to anybody that has a higher percentage of their population in their county or city than we do.
It's not hard to do here, right?
Yeah.
But it is interesting because you look at like, okay, there's only 6,000 people, so it's very easy for them. No, actually it's very difficult because you hit a plateau and you have to put so much extra work in to get those extra numbers. So unless people are really diligent about their businesses, which most people aren't.
Right.
Most people that run academies have a part-time job or a spouse that makes money doing something else. We never had that.
Right.
I wasn't interested in that. My life is this. I don't want to separate my energy and go do something else or have a crutch to fall back on. I am fully dedicated to what I'm doing in life and fully dedicated to my students. And people keep themselves in a middle ground, like, oh, maybe that's what, you know, you're fortunate, or no, there's nothing that gave me that up. I gave up working $25 an hour under the table with my dad doing construction to not work at all to learn how to be better at jiu-jitsu and create a jiu-jitsu business.
Right.
It's like that you do what you want in life, or you're afraid to fail and you don't do what you want in life. And we've all been exposed to that. We've all been a part of that process because every single person has not done something they were afraid to fail at.
Yep.
It's like, what would you do if you knew you could never fail? You'd do anything in life.
Right.
Do everything, of course.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid to fail and we're human, we don't do a lot of shit. You know, so
for sure.
It's really the reason why a lot of people will give themselves the excuse not to start jiu-jitsu. Oh, I have to get in shape first, or I don't know if I can be committed. It's like, well, you'll never know unless you try.
Right, for sure. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you opened the academy in 2008. You know, it's been 14 years now. What impact have you guys seen that having this gym here in this community has had on the community itself?
Yeah, I mean, this is one reason I think we got to the 200 mark, is we have a lot of upper belts now. We have our own black belts in the community, our own brown belts. You know, and these people are just like mini beacons of, these are just good people, you know. So I think that if you can keep a student around a black belt, you're doing something right. Yeah. Especially a group, you know, men and women, different ages and stuff. Because again, you don't want to spend a decade around someone that you don't like, you know. So then that trickles down to the kids. We've got kids that grew up in the kids program that are now adults that train, you know. So we have, pretty soon we'll have like generations, like people that were kids in our kids program will be having kids here in the next year or two. And so it will be like a full circle, you know. And so I think it's a snowball effect. If you stay passionate and you love what you do, then over time it will grow and grow and grow. And like we've got the Bill Higgs out there, you know, we just have all these amazing students, and you know, people know they train jiu-jitsu. We've got the younger ones coming up and everything in between. So yeah, we're a jiu-jitsu city now, man. You know, there's a lot of people around here that train, a lot of people that work at the local restaurants and bars, and they're very competent, you know, for their level, and the community's way better for it, man. You know, there's a lot. You know how jiu-jitsu is, man. Some people just like connect to it; it's their thing. Yeah. You know, and how good is that in a place where it's raining? You can't always be outside. Yeah. We know we all need it.
No, it's amazing, and because you mentioned it, Bill's name, right? Can you give me Bill's bird's eye view? And for people listening, in quick context, I rolled with him today, and then I put 2 and 2 to, you know, he's one of your guys' black belts, and I go upstairs and I realized I had seen him on the poster. But in the poster, he's an older gentleman. He's a blue belt. And we're downstairs and, hey, Vic, we'll take care of you. Let's roll. I was like, cool. So we had a great roll. I'm like, damn, this dude's super strong. But I didn't know how old he was. And I was like, hey, Bill, that's you in the poster. Like, wait, you're blue belt, black belt now? Like, okay, how old were you in the picture? He's like, oh, I was 68 in the picture. So I'm doing rough math in my head. Wait, 10 years of black belt. How old are you now? He's like, oh, I'm 79. Yeah. And I was like, wait, what? So can you give me the bird's eye view of his story? And because again, I think it's super encouraging to someone when they give excuses, I'm too old or out of shape to start jiu-jitsu. It's like, Bill did that. It was incredible.
He's just he's very, when he picks something he wants to do, he's going to do it, man. I'll just say the one thing, I'll let my brother talk about him a little bit as well, but I would think for tons of classes, like this is going to be the class he gets hurt. I remember one time he showed up for Nogi when he was like a year in. I'm like, what the fuck, Bill's doing Nogi today? We got the 70-year-old man, and like he's focused, man. He's going to give his best in all the rounds. He's going to work until he's like breathing hard and doesn't have anything left, and you know, he just brings good energy. I can tell he loves being around the young guys. He's a thinker. He like invents his own things, and yeah, we get just as much out of having Bill around as he gets from the young guys here. I think he's our first black belt actually.
Wow.
So he was.
I think that's what he told me today.
Yeah, so we love him to death.
Kurt, Nick, and Bill all got their black belts. Those were our first black belts.
Cool. A couple of these other guys haven't been around. Kurt's on vacation still. I don't think Nick's been in since he's been here.
Okay. Nick was the gentleman my brother spoke of earlier that started with me.
Oh, okay, cool. That's awesome.
And actually, he's our only guy that's medaled. That he took third at Worlds after 5 matches. He took thirds at Worlds 2009 as a purple belt. So he's like one of the few people in the Northwest that medaled at a major tournament.
Wow,
you know?
that's really
he's very, very good. He's solid.
Well, I mean, what is your perspective of Bill's journey? And again, maybe talking to those people who are again nervous to start jiu-jitsu because of age, health, you know, certain aspects. What is about him and his attitude that keeps him here?
I mean, the reason Bill's not nervous about doing jiu-jitsu is because he's not nervous about life. He's excited about life. At 78 years old, he comes in or 68, he comes in excited about trying something new. Interested in finding what he doesn't know. Instead of fearful of, oh, I don't know what this is, or I might get injured. And it's like, yeah, all you have to do is look around. And to be honest, like, you know, we hold an unfair advantage on some academies because some people just simply don't think about these things. They live in a huge city. If people get injured, they leave. They got plenty of other people coming in to pay the bills, right? You know, so, and they have a part-time job, and it's just like, yeah, you're not there. You're there for yourself instead of the people. You know, instead of your students. How dedicated are you to leaving something larger than yourself behind? Wow. That's really what it comes down to. And Bill's always been that way. Like my brother said, he's an inventor, he's a creator. So he sees the value in what people are doing when there's something great going on. He doesn't involve himself in anything that's not great. And that's why we also receive something so special from having him around, because he's got so much life experience to offer and share with people. It's just amazing to have someone around like that that's, you know, literally like built the lighthouse in Laguna Beach, that whole little lighthouse area where people go down. Plenty of people been to Laguna Beach, the little lighthouse right there next to the restaurants before you hit the boardwalk. Like, that was Bill Higgs. He designed that whole thing. He did a bunch of buildings in that area. Like, he's designed cars, airplanes, a bunch of cool shit. Like, the guy's just super neat to be around. And I think that's who we all want to be.
Yeah.
We want to be neat to be around. We want to have something to offer that people hold on to when we're gone.
Absolutely.
You know, and Bill has that to offer for sure.
It was super inspiring, and it was funny because even he's 10 plus years in jiu-jitsu now, black belt under you guys. We were talking to him after he rolled. He's like, yeah, I wasn't betting little things. He has the two little guys playing jiu-jitsu in his head all the time. Like, I wonder if this will work or that. So it's just such positive energy. So it was really cool. One thing I wanted to ask you about, in the lobby up there, you have the big article up there that actually talked about one of your losses to Guy Mendez. And I think walking in a jiu-jitsu academy and seeing, you know, the head instructors having something like that up there shows a lot of humility and actually like whoa, they're putting something out there like this. What was your motivation or decision to put that article up there on display to, you know, all new people walking in your academy?
Sure. I actually have the picture, the picture at the end of that match I have in my house, on my library bookshelf, that shows me with my hand down and his raised. And it's to remind me that people achieve the goals and they get recognized for the work that they put in. No one in the world should have expected me to win that match. He was already a 4-time world champion. That was my first match at black belt. Ever.
Yeah. Wow.
I flew from the United States to Japan, first trip to Japan ever, and I was excited for the experience. You know, what I expected from myself was to try like I always did, my best, and that's exactly what I achieved. I was happy with the outcome. I really did my best, and I learned so much from that match. Like, I'm a very perceptive individual, so when I feel what he's doing to me over and over again, I'm reading that and picking it up, you know, and I was able to bring that back and add that into my game and adapt and continue to believe in myself. And I think that, you know, the reason I was so excited for that experience specifically is because there's no better experience than fighting your way to the very top, and then right when you reach it, you meet the best. It's like, no one gets that.
Yeah.
Who gets, like,
for sure.
I'm interested to know how many other people, when they got their black belt, was their first match with Guy Mendez.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that number, but I feel very fortunate to have had that experience, because I didn't need the easy guys. I wanted the best. That's what I arrived at that moment for.
Yeah.
To fight, and it happened perfectly, literally. Like, that was it. I came to this moment to fight the very best in the world. That's what I'm here for. That's what I was striving for the entire time. So to wish that I would have had it easier, that's not me.
Yeah.
You know? I got a lot of negative feedback from the internet swarm, but the beautiful thing was I got to see all the black belts that believed in me, that were a part of my path, a part of my journey. I never needed or had the necessity to want to speak out against those people. That's, I get to carry my own experience with me.
And what about, I mean, having that on, you know, at home is one thing, but displaying it in your academy seems maybe something more. Like, what about having it out there does it mean to you? Or, you know, again, open and present for everyone to see.
Yeah, I think the quality of character that you have, you know, the humility that you carry with you, like, it's not about winning. Wanting to win is important, but winning isn't everything. wanting to win is. You know, so what do you carry with you when you lose? How do you respond to those situations? Again, like my brother said earlier, the mindset of somebody wanting to carry through adversity for continued periods of time, their entire life, instead of recluse into comfort and convenience, like so many do. That just establishes a mindset that carries you into all facets of life on a much higher level. Allows you to be successful on all different levels, and that's what we want to try and offer the youth here.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what it's for. Is when people walk in, they're like, "Hey, cool," like, because again, we talked about this, like, nobody that doesn't do jiu-jitsu or hasn't heard of jiu-jitsu yet that's walking in the door doesn't know who Rafael Lovato Jr. is.
Correct.
They don't know who we are yet.
That's right. Yeah.
So when they get to know us and they get to train with us and they see the level and who we are as people, they're like, oh wow, okay, there's also these other levels to them. Like, they don't need to just be the best. They don't need to show off. That's not what we're doing jiu-jitsu for.
Yeah, no, totally. That's something I see, and it's very rare to see something like that, and to me is very admirable, where I'm like, wow, okay, this is a welcome environment, and that shows humility that I want to go train with this person. You know, we hadn't even stepped on the mats yet. You know, we've been on social media and messaging, but I was like, wow, that says something about the quality of character you have. And I think people who get to train with you guys are super lucky, because you guys are, you know, awesome individuals on and off the mats, which is great. You mentioned that was your first black belt match. I like to ask this question because I think people who are starting jiu-jitsu or along that journey still look at, hey, getting that black belt it's a goal, right? Regardless of how much we say, hey, the belts don't matter, whatever, everyone eventually wants a black belt, right? Maybe you tell me for Zach, what was getting your black belt like for you? Did it have any more weight to it? What does having it mean to you? I mean, what does black belt mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big deal. It was a big deal for our community and our students, you know, because we opened for purple belt and we were competing just so much at brown belt, you know, a ton of brown belt internationally, everywhere we could. And yeah, man, we worked for a long time for that moment, you know, to have the belt tied on us by our instructor who loved to death, invested in us, and then in front of all of our students, our family and stuff, you know, and it kind of helped our whole academy level up. And then it was cool because it created the next dream of, okay, someday we can be far enough along as a black belt to have our own students, you know? So it was monumental, man, something we've been dreaming about for a long time. Definitely an emotional day, because there's so much blood, sweat, and tears that would have gone into getting that promotion. And you know, we personally worked really, really hard for that goal. You know, we know we definitely paid our dues.
Yeah.
And, held to a very high standard. So it was really gratifying.
That's awesome. When you got your black belt, did you also get the USB drive plugged directly in your brain with all the secrets?
I wish it was that easy, man. You know, I wonder sometimes if I was better at the first year of black belt, as you know, if I was better then or now after, you know, almost how many years in a black belt?
It's gonna be 9 years this year.
Yeah,
so we'll get our third stripe on the black belt this year.
It's hard to, you know, you just improve so much, and different things are different focus at different time. But the journey, like we were saying earlier, each part is important and should be appreciated for what it is. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. What about you?
I had two real prolific realizations when I got my black belt. One was the feeling, I'm like, okay, this is what they talk about. Like, here is the moment that's arrived where all the greats are like, if you really stick with your goal and you just never give up on it, you're going to achieve it at some point. Or if you didn't, at least you never gave up on yourself. And that's a goal in itself. You know, you never achieved your goal, but you never gave up on yourself. You never gave up the path of trying to master doing whatever it was that was worth your while, you know? So once I achieved that goal, I realized it was replicable in all other areas of life. Oh, here it is. If I stick with something for at least a decade, I can fucking do anything. Literally.
Yeah.
You know? And if I can't do it by then, I can do it at some point, because it didn't matter if I got my black belt today or not. I was going to keep going for another 10 years until I got it. So it's like I can do whatever I want when I set my mind to it now. I know that, you know, and I'm like, okay. Also, we never had a black belt to learn under unless we traveled to them. From that moment on, our students didn't have only one black belt, but 2 black belts to train under forever.
No, that's
and
wonderful.
now it's compounded into other people. Like there's, you know, 7 black belts on the mat here now.
That's so exciting. Yeah.
It's like, that's incredible to see that transformation where they don't even realize what that means to them because they weren't a part of the culture before.
Right.
We had that.
Totally.
But I knew that that was a special moment because we were moving closer to the teacher creates the student that's better than the teacher.
Wow.
And it's like we're finally arriving to those points now where, you know, Evan Yokoyama, he's at some point he will be able to transcend our technical ability and jiu-jitsu IQ. It's just so, he's been in it for so long. It's just the adaptation. You know, the youth, their mind. He's got time on his side. Like he's got another decade of just hammering it and getting better. Where it's like I'm starting to come off the curve. Like I'm just trying to chill and I get my hard rounds in every week, but I want to I don't want to hurt.
Right.
I'm not willing to suffer the way I was when all I wanted was to be a world champion.
Right.
Now I've got to be better than that for my students.
Totally.
You know, so I've got to take myself out of being selfish with the suffering and make sure that I'm healthy for them.
It sounds like, you know, with those profound moments when you got your black belt, you got the USB drive, so hopefully you'll let him borrow it. I had, over the last, 2 days, I had the pleasure of rolling with both you guys, and it feels like you guys, obviously, are amazing jiu-jitsu practitioners, but have your own style on the mat. How would you describe your style and maybe what, some of the fun jiu-jitsu stuff? What's your go-to? What do you like doing on the mats offensively and, submission-wise?
I mean, chaining, passing, for sure. And then definitely a lot of tension in the guard, and then trying to be creative with setting up submission opportunities, I think that would be all around pressure, a really sticky guard, a very, very hard guard to pass. And then also layers of jiu-jitsu. I mean, like if I get my guard pass, I got a good turtle game. If I get my back taken, I can defend from the back, so they're not gonna be able to just beat me in just the guard pass. They gotta pass my guard, or get to half guard, and then beat the half guard, and then get to side control, and then they'll put me away from there, So having these like layers of an onion that they gotta peel back a lot of fucking layers to get to the checkmate makes you more resilient. You can last longer, you can rebound from bad positions better, So this is, I think, partly the evolution of getting more, getting deeper into your black belt is maybe creating more well thought out and compartmentalizing your jiu-jitsu into better, making yourself more resilient in different positions and things, That's a lot to describe.
No, that's such a great way to describe it, because even now, listening to you talk about it, I have realizations of certain things I do now or used to do quite a bit of, like, if someone passes guard into half guard, well, okay, you settle in the position. But the way you're describing, hey, these layers and being effective in each way, it gives you more of an opportunity to work out from that checkmate position faster and with better positioning. So yeah, that's great. That's clicking very well. I like that.
That's it. I mean, that's how it feels when I train with him too. Like, you'll like, sometimes, like, when you peel the onion, like, the whole skin comes off, right? Sometimes it starts snapping off and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, you usually get like one layer in, and then the second layer like starts getting a lot more difficult. And if I even get to the third, it's gonna be like a tiny little piece that chunks off, and then he starts to build it back up. So it's like, that's kind of how the experience goes a lot.
Yeah.
Granted, we've been training together for 20 years, so we have a very good idea of how our styles work. So it does get, I would say, probably very similar to Sensei Raphael, Sensei Shanji, like Sensei Salo. They've been fighting each other for so long, it gets increasingly more difficult to find the checkmate, because you get so much more integral in the in-betweens that keep them one space removed from the finality, you know? So that's a refinement to the art, and it helps everyone.
Absolutely. Zach, as a coach, what is something that grinds your gears being a coach in jiu-jitsu? Something you see on the mats from students, parents on the sideline? I mean, like, what is something that...
You know, it's a big one, man. When the coaching staff, when the coach has been trained a certain way and they recognize something that needs to be addressed and they don't address it. So, you know, like
Your coaching staff, you've taught them.
Yeah, we're seeing things at other schools that I'm realizing they're promoting a culture that's not going to be, they're not going to keep a certain type of person around, you know? You know, so that would be a big one, is also students, like, I don't like cliques in the school. I don't like, these two people don't like to roll with that person, or like, I don't want any of that shit in here. I want everybody to, if they can't get along with everyone, it's always team first. So they gotta get on board or get out of the way, you know? So, but the coaches set the standard for that, you know, and I think it's even more important to be respectful and humble and give a lot to your students, but also be very willing to immediately call someone out when you recognize there's a pattern of someone doing something not the right way. I'm definitely gonna not like it if I see somebody allowing something to continue to happen on the mat, you know? So, and not that we don't all make mistakes, you know, but it's important that when you're mentoring someone, that you're willing to help them along. And we've had a lot of tough conversations with students and staff over the years, but they respect us more. They know you're a no bullshit type of person, that you're going to hold them accountable. And this will, someday when they have their own school someday, they're going to hopefully breed that same environment, which will get them to black belts, and their black belts create more black belts, and you know, wanting to stick with people hopefully for the rest of their life. No,
that's a great answer. And I think what you're also describing is something where an individual doing a disservice to jiu-jitsu, you can't have that. And I think that's phenomenal.
Killing the vibe is...
Don't kill the vibe here.
Do it for, like, people get pissed, like, hit the mat. Sometimes people are, like, too rough, or they're, like, fucking hitting wrist locks too hard on people, or they're just not, they don't give them any love after they roll. They remove themselves from social events, or, like, they're just there for themselves. They can't incorporate, they don't want to incorporate into the team, you know? They want to stay in their little glass closet where everybody can see them in the closet, but they're not fucking coming out.
Have you successfully pulled someone out of that and brought them into the light, you know, like through your experience? And what was it that kind of got them? Because that could be a plateau someone's hitting, you know, who may be listening, like, that's me right now. Like, what do they need to hear?
I mean, the big thing is, if it's once a fluke, second time's a coincidence, third time's a pattern. When there's a pattern that's been shown to emerge, then it has to be addressed. You know, because that's also going to radiate and go out to other people, especially if they're upper belt. They're going to start to think that sort of behavior is okay, you know, where, you know, it could have just been a fluke, but the staff is always watching, always listening, you know. There's something that needs to be corrected. And students are a little bit different than staff, man. The staff, they need the hammer laid down on them sometimes, not in a nice way, you know, because they're expected to hold the standard. And if they've been taught and they tested and acknowledge that they know it, and then they don't, you know.
Yeah, they're not the tender egg that the new student comes in to the academy as. Like, they know what we expect, and our expectations need to be met, or they need to be readdressed. That's for sure. So we either retrain or remove. That's it.
Cool.
No, I love it. It's a great attitude.
Also doing it out of love too. We want them to uphold the same standard with their students that they're going to have.
If we're gone, that's all the students have. So we have to uphold that standard for them.
For sure. No, that's great. I really, over the last couple of days, we talked about this a lot, like having a high quality standard that doesn't, you know, falter at all, because, hey, this is your guys' gym, lineage, environment, and it's a great environment. It's a super positive environment. I've taken a couple classes now, and the people who walk through the store love being here. You know, and you can see it again as a guest. And I've gone to quite a few gyms now. You guys do a really good job, and it's really cool to see, hey, the smile on everyone's faces, the environment that you guys have created for them. Nate, typically I like to ask people like, hey, what makes a jiu-jitsu gym successful? But you guys have talked on that quite a bit. I think maybe a little differently would be when you're having moments where maybe you're feeling not at your best energy-wise. You know, we all go, as humans, we all go through our ups and downs, right? How do you, if you find yourself in those moments and recognize it on the mat, how do you pull yourself out of that, being the leader of the gym, you know, if you're not here? Or do you guys bounce, you know, that energy off each other?
No, I mean, we pretty much at this point, like, we used to do that a little bit more when we were younger, I think, when we were first starting the academy. Like, hey, would you mind running class? But we don't do that as much anymore. We have our times where we know that we're scheduled to teach, and we've just gotten so much better at being able to make the adjustments that are necessary. Again, it's not about you. So if you're at home and you're like, fuck, I'm tired, I don't want to go and teach tonight, like, really? You're gonna fucking give up on your entire student base? Because you're tired? Well, guess what? Everybody else is fucking tired, and they got shit to deal with at home. Maybe they're going through divorce, or that's why they started jiu-jitsu. Like, you better put your shit aside and be there the way that you decided you wanted to be there in the beginning, which is be the instructor of a jiu-jitsu academy. And guess what? You don't get days off. That's it, man. You don't really get days off. Like, you're the psychiatrist, you're the teacher, you're the dad, the brother, like, when you don't even have kids, you know, like, I'm glad that I don't have kids in a family, because I can commit myself 100% to those families and the kids that are here. You know, so for me, that's what's important, is like being able to set yourself aside. Everyone's got their problems. Are you somebody that's like, oh man, yeah, you know, this happened to me today? It's just like, nobody cares about that. They got their own shit to deal with, you know? So the easiest way to help yourself is help yourself. Instead of running around crying about the situation that a million people are in and another billion are in a worse position.
It's totally fair.
You know? So it's like, I just don't feed into that. Had to kill that off. I don't like that mentality in myself, and I have done a better job of recognizing that mentality in others and helping them move past it.
Cool.
You know, and that's really, I think, what it takes, is seeing all the shortcomings I've had to tackle over these years. You know, my brother, like, we're nowhere near perfect. That's definitely not what we're trying. We don't try and make people believe that that's even possible. But what is possible is 1% every day. Getting better all the time, putting in the effort, being willing to create a better human being so you have more to offer those around you.
Cool. I love that. That's wonderful. I'm going to ask you both this individually because it's a big one. I want to hear your perspective. Zach, if you could change one thing about jiu-jitsu, what would it be? Do this for me. Take a slight half turn that way so we're talking a little towards the mic. There you go.
The one thing I'm thinking right now, if I could have the power of just like wave the wand, make anything happen, it would be that when people came in for the first day, that they got greeted in the right environment, you know, the right environment that's gonna keep them excited, you know, versus the alternative, which is not. You know? And I think a lot of people are hoping jiu-jitsu could be the right thing for them, and maybe they're met with not the right energy or not the right customer service or the way to take them through. So that would be, if I could do anything, it would just be like, get these people had to have a good first impression, you know.
Cool.
Because what they are, they're doing a combat martial art, you know. They're going to learn some chokes and some arm locks and some throws, and they're going to have some bumps and bruises along the way, but it's going to be exciting and they're going to be supported, you know. But if we do it in the wrong way, you know, they're just going to go in the deep end and drown. And it's not going to work. You know?
For sure. Well, and you were talking about that earlier, which I thought is actually a really important thing. First impressions do matter. What is your first impression? Like, excuse me, let me rephrase that. When people walk through that door and you're the first person they see in this jiu-jitsu gym, how do you put off your best first impression? And maybe that other academy owners can take some advice from you on how to do the best they can.
I mean, we have a pretty we want things done a certain way. First time someone comes in the academy, we want them greeted within 3 seconds, man. From the time they walk in the door, we want them to be greeted. If we already know they're coming, we want them to be able to say, what's up, Victor? So they know, like, oh shit, they're already expecting me. Like, damn, I didn't think they remember my name. Rather than coming in and like looking around awkwardly, and maybe like some guys are hitting the bags, or like, I've been in all sorts of places, so you're just like, fuck, no, I don't know what to do, or so I think that's a big part of it. First thing they should do is figure out, what are they there for? What are your goals? Are you here to lose weight? Are you here for self-defense? Because there's no point when we're walking around and showing them the school and talking about how, we have students that lost 100 pounds if their goal is to learn how to defend themselves against an old abusive boyfriend or something like that.
Right.
So what are their needs? Does our school meet their needs? Does the culture of our school meet their needs? And then do we have maybe inspirational stories we can share with them, that people came in that just like them, that achieved their goals, and we know that we have a really high likelihood or good chance of having the same thing happen to them if they jump in and they enjoy the training. So
that's great. I love that, and that's such an important thing. Like, hey, you guys have a standard time frame where you try to meet people at that door and remember their name, and if they're calling or emailing ahead, that's great. Again, I couldn't agree more. First impression is amazing. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. What about you, Nate? If you could change one thing about jiu-jitsu, what would it be?
I would say, to be honest, my initial reaction is absolutely there should be a certain standard that people have to establish before they're even able to open an academy.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's really what it comes down to for me. But I'm also in a very strong position that people are free to do as they wish. So there is, I guess my best resolution for that situation would be, why is there not any idea out there established on a standard as to how or why you would open an academy? It's a broad spectrum of issues that you would have to tackle, but I know inside, like, people in general would be so much better off if people had to go through the development of being better teachers, because skill means nothing when it comes to teaching. I've met so many world champions that are absolute shit at teaching. And I have no problem saying that. Like, literally, there's terrible teachers. All they're gonna do is try and tell people how to copy them, which is the worst way to learn jiu-jitsu. Just copy someone, so you create no identity, you get no personal expression whatsoever, because that's what this is. The martial art isn't a personal expression of who you are. You become the artist. That's what Sensei Raphael talks about this all the time. So it's like, I think that there is no body that's helped create that yet. As far as we know, there's a monopoly that comes from IBJJF that gives a list of people that are legitimate black belts through competition, and that's the best you'll get. Unless you go to BJJ Globetrotters and become a part of black belt checker.
Interesting.
So that gives you a whole worldwide connection of black belts that know the individuals that they've trained with, that give them the validation and certify that yes, this person is who they say they are. There's a legitimate lineage here, but there's no one else or nowhere else that I know of that's created that system that would even start the conversation as to how to create a network of individuals that help make the entire community of jiu-jitsu better.
I love that.
And in fact, there's actually been a big push to monopolize and hold that away from certain groups of people. Very specifically.
That I don't like.
Yeah. So again, I'm in favor of freedom and freedom of movement, but I also know that when you specifically put time into establishing a standard that's better or can be improved upon on a regular basis, and you're not working on that, then you're falling back into comfort and convenience, what just does not offer the highest level value to your students.
Yeah, totally.
Will leave you moving more into what's important for you rather than what's important for them.
Yeah. I think you touched on something really important, that just because someone's a world champion doesn't mean they're a great teacher or coach, because those are very two different skill sets, you know. Swinging a hammer and knowing how to manage a crew of people swinging a hammer are two very different things, right? And so, to your guys' credit, I think you guys do a phenomenal job at doing both, which is awesome, because the more jiu-jitsu gets saturated and there's more academies, right, you don't see that as often. So kudos to you guys again, doing a really awesome job with that. Lastly, outside of jiu-jitsu, completely removed from it, nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, what do you do that's good for the soul?
Take the dog to the beach, take the wife out for dinner or breakfast, spend some time with the family, and just keep learning, man.
Cool.
Always learning.
What about you?
I've been remodeling my house that I bought like almost a little over 4 years ago for a while now, so I have lots of unfinished projects that keep me busy, that satisfy me when I finish them.
Cool.
I'm out on the property a lot with my dad and spending a lot of time in nature. Especially recently, I've been very focused on continuing communication with people that I've had for the longest periods of time in my life. I feel like relationships are super important, and especially with what society has dealt with in the last couple of years, I think that that's even more important, because it's very easy to become separated or divided from those emotionally, rather than just looking into your heart and realizing you should just love people, because it's a better thing to do than hate. So I'm trying to be more present there than worry and fear, and I feel like the best things in life are being able to feed yourself. Obviously everybody desires a roof over their head, but the quality of character that you're able to surround yourself with is really what makes us whole. If you don't have a family and you don't have a support system, we all know where that leads people in life. They're lost, and it's way harder to function. So I think that's what I continue to focus on, and that's what I continue to try and offer the people here.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Any final thoughts about anything jiu-jitsu related or anything else?
Man, the only other thing I was thinking, I was like, what else could I change? I would just take out all injury altogether. Just train like an absolute pit bull. Or like I could have grandmas and grandpas come in and train, and no injury.
That'd be amazing.
That would be a dream come true.
I love that one.
Injury is a plague for everyone.
For sure.
Pain is a teacher, but not everybody learns.
Yep. Absolutely.
Thanks for doing this, Victor.
Hey, thank you guys for having me on here. I really appreciate this. This was an awesome conversation. I'm excited to share it with people, and then they can get to know you guys more and know what Seaside is about. This is an amazing academy, so I'm super glad you guys are doing this.
And we love hosting people like yourself. We love it when people drive up in the van and stay in the back. We've had a lot of notable jiu-jitsu figures come out over the years, and so you can just be hopefully you're a blue belt if you're coming out to stay for a while, but even the white belts are welcome.
Cool, man.
We've always got a spot for people where we're almost in like a position to have like an exchange type of deal, but we've had people out for months at a time. We love, like my brother said, hosting people and having them out here. We've got the property, we've got the beautiful Oregon coast, especially like April through October, this is a great place to be. So if people want to come and enjoy and be a part of the coast. There's a lot going on here. It's great jiu-jitsu.
Great jiu-jitsu.
We're in a little town.
And might be pleasantly surprised.
It's beautiful. So
well, I had the pleasure of knowing who you guys got your black belts from, so when I walked in I didn't have any surprise when I got on these mats. So it's been an honor to train with you guys and take classes over the last couple of days, and looking forward to doing this some more. So I really appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Guys, if you've made it this far along, finished the interview, I just want to thank you again for supporting me along this journey, and hopefully you got something awesome out of that interview. I really enjoy doing these, learning so much about life, jiu-jitsu, and everyone has such a unique and interesting perspective. So I hope you got something out of that that you can take with you. And one last reminder, for 10% off on any Jocko Fuel products or Origin USA products, go to jockofuel.com or originusa.com. Support yourself by getting some awesome products, supplements, protein shakes, greens, all that good stuff. It helps support me along this journey, and again, supports yourself and an American-made company. So yeah, jockofuel.com. Check it out, guys. Thank you very much.